Immersed Robot.
Hello everyone, welcome to the first VR News Ramble on the channel, and this is just going to be a series of videos that I post from time to time when I've got something I want to talk about really, just some probably unwanted opinions or needed opinions at least on some topics and news stories that are just on my mind really. So that's what this first one will be about. I've got a couple of topics I want to talk about. Before I get into that though, just to say the footage I'm showing you here is of GTA 5 of course, in virtual reality, and recently somebody posted a comment on one of my videos. Atrium posted a comment on one of my videos just requesting that I do a performance test on the Lucros mod for GTA 5, which allows for stereoscopic VR. This is something that actually slipped my mind. I forgot all about this mod. I did try it quite a while ago when I had a GTX 1080 Ti graphics card, but this comment reminded me that maybe I should jump back in and give it a try with the 3080 just to see how it performs. So I will be posting a video, a more in-depth performance test about the GTA 5 mod next week. I've been playing around with GTA 5 in VR a little bit today though, and so that's why I wanted to show you a little bit of advanced footage on this game, because it's pretty good what's there. There's a few caveats of course with this mod, but I'll get into that on the video next week, so keep an eye out for that, and I'll be posting it probably Tuesday I think, but it could change, so keep an eye on the channel either way. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about quickly is the Oculus Quest 2 120Hz update, which should be coming possibly this month or maybe next month. We don't know exactly when yet, but I wanted to mention this because it seems like a good thing overall for the platform, if for no other reason than to give developers an extra option. At the moment they can develop titles which run at native 72 frames per second or native 90 frames per second, and this gives them another option. If their game is low demand enough that it can run at a native 120 frames per second on the Oculus Quest 2 hardware, then that will obviously be a big benefit. It will give smoother performance and it should look really good. Anybody that's used the index and has tried all these different refresh rates and the native frames per second to match these refresh rates will know that it can make a difference in certain titles, and I'm thinking particularly of something like 11 Table Tennis VR, which can really benefit from those high refresh rates. So I'm holding out hope that title at least will get native 120 frames per second support in the Quest 2 when this update drops, but we'll have to wait and see what the developer can do with that. The other reason I wanted to mention this is originally when I was thinking about this, I was thinking that perhaps it could even provide extra options beyond the surface level ones that we're seeing. And I was wondering if perhaps developers could run titles at 60 frames per second and then interpolate them or reproject them, whatever term you want to use, up to that 120 Hz within the Oculus headset. So it gives them an extra option where they can't even get to that 72 frames per second. It will give them an option to run titles at 60 frames per second, but then interpolate it up to 120 Hz, giving quite a good smooth appearance, hopefully. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be possible based on some things I've learned since thinking about this. And the reason is, when you want to interpolate these frames, you can do it on PC VR, you can do it with motion smoothing in Steam VR, reprojection in Steam VR, and then you've got asynchronous space warp on the Oculus side of things on the PC platform. The problem comes when on the mobile platform, Quest 2 doesn't have an equivalent, I believe, of asynchronous space warp. Now, what it does have an equivalent of is the old version of that asynchronous time warp, which gives a safety net for rotational head movement. So that's why in the Quest or Quest 2, whenever you turn your head, it should always appear perfectly smooth, even if perhaps certain titles are dropping frames very occasionally. And that's because the asynchronous time warp gives that safety net. It projects synthetic frames between the fully rendered frames, and that's why with rotational head movement it will always appear smooth. Unfortunately, they don't have an equivalent on the mobile platform yet for asynchronous space warp, which gives a positional safety net, and so developers can't can't really develop their titles for the Quest 2 to run at half frame rate all the time. They can only use that rotational head movement safety net equivalent. Now, that's my understanding of it. If anybody's got any thoughts on that or can expand upon what I'm saying regarding that in comments, then please do, because I thought that would be a great thing for the mobile platform to have these extra options where they can implement an equivalent of asynchronous space warp and give developers more options beyond the native frames per second to match the refresh rates of the headset. It might not be possible, but hopefully, that could come in an even later update where they have an equivalent, a software equivalent of asynchronous space warp in the Quest and Quest 2. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is to do with the PlayStation VR 2, or whatever the next generation of PlayStation VR is going to be called, because it has now had sort of a semi-announcement on the PlayStation blog where it was sort of a very dry post about basically saying that they are working on the next generation of PSVR and giving some very, very few details on the device itself. But a lot of people are speculating that the reason they posted this is simply because the development kits for this hardware are now going out to developers, and they wanted to get ahead of leaks or potential leaks that could be coming out in the forthcoming months. So that makes sense for them to do that. But in this blog post, there were a couple of points which I wanted to mention. So the first thing that I found interesting was the fact that they specifically mentioned the detail of the cable. And this seemed like a strangely out of place detail to mention in this blog post, and it almost felt like they were trying to get ahead of any disappointment in some ways, because there was probably speculation going around about the fact that this could either be the PlayStation VR 2 could either be like a standalone VR headset, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility really, but they're not going that direction. They are making it tethered to a PlayStation 5, which in some ways makes sense as well, but it's not going to stream data wirelessly from the PlayStation 5 in the way that you can do with an Oculus Quest 2, for example. It will have a single cable that will go from the headset to the PlayStation 5. Now, while that streamlined approach is obviously benefit over the original PlayStation VR, which was a little bit more complicated, it had that breakout box and that kind of stuff. So it's good that they're going to have a single cable going directly from the headset to the PS5. I just found this detail included in the blog post a little bit strange to include, because they weren't going into a lot of detail about the hardware, but they did mention a few things, and this just seemed like quite a strange specific detail to mention. And again, it was probably just to get ahead of any disappointment, just to make people aware that this is not going to be a wireless device, it is going to have a cable. So I can understand them posting that in there, but it just seemed strangely out of place when I first read it for some reason. The other thing that's mentioned in this blog post is just about the more enhanced controllers as well. Of course, we all know, anybody that's used a PSVR will know that the severe limitations of the Move controllers, both in terms of tracking technology and just in functionality, the interaction functionality, the buttons and things like that are on the controller, then they're not the best really, are they? So this was almost inevitable that the controllers were going to be upgraded, and that makes a lot of sense. Other than that, they mentioned things about increased resolution, increased field of view, all these things that everybody wanted. So overall, this announcement for PlayStation VR 2, or whatever the headset will eventually be called, is a good thing. At least we know that there is something in the works after some comments that were made by Jim Ryan recently. And historically, now we've got a different leadership in charge at PlayStation. It wasn't necessarily a certainty that PlayStation VR 2 would be making an appearance, but I'm pleased to read that it is, and they're working on it, and it's being sent out to developers soon. This is all good news, and I can't wait to hear more about that in the coming months. Okay, so that's just a couple of quick topics that I had for this week's VR News Ramble. The original plan was to post this video like this every week, every Friday, hopefully, but I don't know if I've got enough thoughts or opinions to really maintain that, if I'm being honest. So we'll see how it goes. I'll probably be posting videos like this sporadically, but you never know. Eventually, I might make it like a regular weekly appearance every Friday. That would be ideal, but it all depends on if I've got enough things to say, really. So we'll see how it goes and take it from there. But thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you'd like more content like this, and don't forget to leave a like. I guess that will be something to mention as well. So thank you for watching it. I'll see you next time.
Please hesitantly tap the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more concise and informative VR content. You can also join our Discord by clicking on the link in the description of this video. And, as always, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.